Single mom loses job saving millionaire's daughter, the shocking twist that changes everything. The storm raged outside, but inside the posh mansion, it was even hotter. The kind of tension you could cut with a knife. Leslie, a single mom with a heart of gold, was babysitting the wealthy Ralston family's daughter, Emily. Just then, the world turned upside down. A sudden crash echoed through the hall, the sound slicing through the chaos like a jolt of ice water. Leslie's heart raced. Something terrible was happening. Emily was playing in the living room. Her laughter echoed sweetly, a stark contrast to the brewing storm. But in a blink, the world shattered. An intruder. A masked figure burst through the door, eyes wild, desperation etched into every line of his face. Fear clutched Leslie's chest. The enormity of her situation slammed into her. This wasn't just any child, she was caring for a millionaire's daughter. Time froze as a single thought spiraled. How could she possibly protect her? With barely a moment to think, Leslie sprang into action. She rushed toward Emily, clear on one thing: she wouldn't let this man ruin the innocence of childhood. But as she shielded Emily behind her, she caught a glimpse of the man's face without the mask. Confusion rippled through her, a look of recognition. Who was he? Suddenly, the mood shifted. The thug's eyes shifted from anger to horror. "Let her go!" he shouted, his voice cracking with panic. Leslie couldn't process it. Does he know her? Did he think he was in a nightmare where he could just escape? The pressure rose, sweat trickled down Leslie's back. This was too big. She had a million questions and no answers. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The masked man's breath hitched. With shaking fingers, he tore off the mask, revealing a familiar face. Leslie. It's me, Tyler. He blurted, eyes darting around the room as if the walls might swallow him whole. Leslie's mind was racing. Tyler. Her high school crush. But something was off. His clothes were torn, his hands trembling with fear. What had happened to him? And why was he breaking into a house? Leslie's instincts kicked in hard. What do you want, Tyler? Why are you here? But even as she asked, the walls seemed to close in. Emily clutched her leg, trembling. A mother's protection surged through her, a blend of fear and fierce love. This was no ordinary night, and the answers loomed just out of reach like fog rolling in. Dark secrets waited to be revealed, secrets that would change everything they thought they knew. What in the world was happening? Tyler. What are you doing here? Leslie's voice was barely a whisper, barely breaking through the pounding of her heartbeat. She couldn't let the panic seep into her words. Emily pressed further against her, wide-eyed and shaking. Leslie felt the little girl's fear, and it fueled her resolve. Leslie, you don't understand, Tyler gasped, almost choking on his words. I didn't mean to. Just listen. He took a step closer, but she raised a hand, holding him at bay. His breath came fast, labored. The storm outside roared, drowning out the world as it whipped through the trees, shaking the very foundations of the mansion. What do you want? She demanded again, her voice steadier this time. The desperation in Tyler's eyes hit her like a punch. They're coming for me. I need your help. The frantic edge in his voice sent a chill down her spine. Who was coming for him? And why did that mean he had come here? Why here? Why now? Leslie's mind whirled. This wasn't happening. It couldn't be. Tyler had always been the golden boy, not the type to show up at her door in tatters, scared out of his mind. Because I trust you. I don't have anyone else. You were the only one who ever really believed in me. A noise from the darkened hallway stole Leslie's attention, a faint rustle that sent her stomach lurching. It was then she noticed the front door had swung ajar, shadows flickering in the dim light. "Emily," she whispered, crouching down to meet the little girl's frightened gaze. "I need you to stay quiet and do exactly as I say." The child nodded, her lips trembling. Leslie turned back to Tyler, who was practically vibrating with anxiety. "Tell me why they're after you. What have you done?" "I can't explain it all, but I stumbled onto something big, some kind of operation. I thought I could bring it to the police, but then they came after me. They'll stop at nothing." "I didn't have a choice," he said, his voice breaking. The pieces were shifting in her mind, but none of it made sense. "What kind of operation?" Before Tyler could respond, the noise in the hallway became more pronounced, heavy footsteps. Leslie shot a glance toward the source. Her skin prickled. This was it. Tyler started, but his eyes widened in fear. "Get down." Leslie pushed Emily to the ground, shoving her behind the couch as she positioned herself protectively in front of them. The door burst open, and two burly men stormed in, dressed in dark clothing, their faces obscured. "Where is he?" one of them barked, scanning the room. Leslie's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of Tyler's panic-stricken face. There was no way out. She could feel the walls closing in, just as she feared. "I want to let you take him." The words escaped her lips before she could think. There was a dangerous ferocity in them, a mix of protective instinct and resolve. "Step aside, lady," one man growled. "Or what? You think I'm just going to let you hurt him?" Leslie shot back, adrenaline coursing through her veins. The men exchanged uncertain glances as the storm roared outside, the tension thick enough to suffocate. Leslie's mind raced. She needed a plan, and fast. "Tyler, we need a diversion. Something to draw their attention." He stammered, but the men were already advancing, closing in. Then, with an urgency she didn't know she possessed, Leslie grabbed a nearby lamp and hurled it against the opposite wall. The shattering glass echoed through the room like an explosion. "Go. Now!" she shouted, and it began an unexpected twist, a desperate fight for survival. But as she watched Tyler spring into action, she wondered if they were already too late. Just as she pushed Emily to safety, another sound pierced the air, a crack from somewhere far more dangerous. What had she just awakened in that mansion? Emily's face went pale as the ground seemed to pulse with a thundering heartbeat. The figure in the doorway shifted, blurring into shadow as the storm outside raged. Leslie's instincts screamed at her to run, to hide, but her feet felt stuck like heavy quagmires clinging to her shoes. "Stay close," she whispered urgently to Emily, who nodded but looked less certain by the moment. Leslie's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the shallow breaths of panic from Tyler. The first man stepped forward, his expression inscrutable. "You think you can protect him? You're just a girl playing hero." "Maybe," Leslie retorted, her voice steely. "But I will protect him." Every word was a challenge. Deep down, she had no idea what she was really capable of, but the fierce love for Emily and the unexpected need to defend Tyler made her resolve sharper than a knife. Tyler, still frozen in fear, suddenly found his voice. "You don't know who you're messing with. It's bigger than you think." His words hung in the air like a threat, igniting uncertainty in the men's eyes for just a flicker of a second. The second man, flanking the first, lunged forward with alarming speed. In one swift motion, he grabbed Tyler by the collar, yanking him off his feet. "Time to come quietly, kid. Let him go." Leslie screamed, horrified. She lunged forward, not even thinking, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She had no weapons, only a heart full of defiance. The men exchanged looks, clearly irritated by this unexpected resistance. Just as she thought they were about to strike, there was a sudden boom of thunder outside, rattling the walls of the mansion. A second later, the lights flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. Emily. Leslie crouched low, her voice a fierce whisper. Stay behind me. She could barely see, but the sound of heavy breathing came from all around her, punctuated by the storm now battering the windows. The commotion erupted into chaos. The two men were momentarily disoriented by the darkness. Leslie seized the opportunity, grabbing Emily's tiny hand and pushing them both toward the staircase that spiraled into shadows. Each step felt like an eternity. Tyler's voice echoed in her mind, there was something big at stake here, something far beyond their lives. Footsteps crashed behind them, heavy and relentless. Get back here. The men's snarls filled the air, mixing with the howl of the storm, drowning any hope of a quick escape. Leslie. Tyler called out as she pulled Emily up the stairs. The old wood creaked under their weight, a warning of their impending capture. We need to hide. They'll know where we went. In the dimness, Leslie's heart raced as dread wormed through her chest. How had this all gone so wrong? She had just wanted a quiet evening. But now, her world spiraled into chaos. She needed answers, and fast. Finally, she spotted a small door at the top of the staircase. It looked like it led to the attic, possibly their only sanctuary. They dashed toward it, pushing it open. But as soon as they crossed the threshold, a deafening crash resonated from the floor below. Leslie slammed the door shut just in time, the sound echoing like a final heartbeat in an empty room. Breathing heavily, she pressed herself against the wood, eyes wild. What she didn't know was that the storm wasn't the only thing raging tonight. What's happening, Leslie? Emily's voice trembled. I don't know, Leslie whispered, wishing desperately she could take away the little girl's fear. But we have to be brave, for Tyler. An unshakable weight settled over her. They had entered a tangled web of danger and deceit. Unknown enemies lurked just outside the door. Stay quiet, she urged, noticing the movement from the door's shadow, looming larger. Do you think they'll find us? Emily's voice was barely a whisper, choked with fear. Before Leslie could respond, a harsh, heavy knock echoed through the attic, slicing through the stillness. Let us in now or else. As the words hung ominously in the air, Leslie locked eyes with Emily, the terror mirrored in both their expressions. They might have just locked themselves into a deadly game they couldn't afford to lose. A horrible thought pierced her, how could she protect them when they were already trapped? What would they do next? Leslie's breath caught in her throat as she stood pressed against the attic door. The threatening knock reverberated in the hollow space, unyielding and relentless. She held Emily close, the little girl's trembling frame grounding her amidst the chaos. What if they come in? Emily whimpered, tears glistening in her wide, innocent eyes. Leslie fought to keep her voice steady. We have to stay quiet. Her mind raced, searching for options. The men downstairs were relentless. Their growing impatience echoed through the narrow walls, and each grunt and curse felt like a scalpel, cutting deeper into Leslie's resolve. Listen, she whispered, if they break in, we find a way to sneak out the back window. She scanned the dim attic, searching for an escape route. Just as she was about to lose hope, a glimmer of faded light peeked through a broken board near the window at the far end of the room. No. The man's voice boomed from below, sending a shudder through Leslie's spine. You're making this worse for yourself. Just give us the kid. Even though Leslie didn't know why they wanted Tyler, she understood that every word was soaked in menace. They want Tyler, she murmured, piecing together fragments of understanding. We can't let them have him. Emily swallowed hard. What does that mean? Why do they want him? I don't know, Emily. But I promise, I won't let anything happen to you. A wave of warmth surged through her, igniting the fire of protection she felt for them both. Suddenly, a loud crash resounded below as an object hit the floor, splintering the quiet. Judging by the heavy footsteps that followed, they were getting desperate. As she turned back to Emily, her heart sank. "Cover your ears!" Leslie shouted, her voice breaking as she grabbed the nearest object she could find, a rusty old wrench lying forgotten in the corner. It felt like a flimsy shield against the impending storm of violence. The next knock rattled the door like a thunderclap. The men below were growing furious, and she could hear them scrambling. "We'll get in. You're making a mistake hiding in there." The sound of cracking would cut through the air, and she realized they were trying to force the door. "Emily, I need you to stay right here, no matter what, okay?" Leslie positioned herself between the door and the frightened girl, gripping the wrench tightly. The adrenaline surged through her like wildfire, she could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears, the door creaked ominously, straining under the pressure, and then, in a sudden explosion, it burst open. The two men from before stormed into the attic, silhouetted against the gusts of wind swirling behind them. Leslie's heart raced as shadows stretched, and chaos erupted. "Get the girl!" One man yelled, lunging toward Leslie with a terrifying speed. Instinct kicked in. She swung the wrench with all her might, connecting with a resounding thud against the man's side. He staggered, though she could see the fury in his eyes as he readied himself to strike back. "No!" A scream pierced the air. Emily had darted toward the open door in a panic. In an instant, the second man grabbed her wrist, yanking her back. "Emily!" Desperation fueled Leslie's actions. She lunged forward, adrenaline spurring her into motion as she aimed for the man holding Emily, praying it would be enough. Let her go. The fight sent them spiraling into the unknown. Would this be the end? Or would they find a way to break through the darkness? The storm continued its fury outside, but inside, a different kind of storm raged, one of fear, resilience, and the unknown. She didn't know who would win this battle, but each heartbeat pushed her onward. Get away. Let her go. Time stretched, the struggle intensifying as shadows danced around them. But in the midst of the chaos, a single thought sliced through the fog: what if they weren't just after Tyler? What more was at stake? Just then, the window shattered, light flooding into the dark space, illuminating a stark figure silhouetted against the storm. Who was that? Was it friend or foe? What will happen next? Leslie's instincts kicked into overdrive as the light from the shattered window spilled across the grimy attic. It was hard to see who or what had just entered their battleground of fear and desperation. All she knew was that every breath felt heavier, laden with dread. The figure stood still for a moment, silhouetted by the storm's chaotic backdrop. Then it stepped through the jagged remnants of the window frame, brushing aside glass shards like they were nothing. Get down. A deep, steady voice commanded. It radiated authority, sending a wave of confusion through Leslie. She was torn between hope and skepticism, unsure if this new arrival was a threat or a savior. Before she could decide, the man lunged toward the men wrestling with her and Emily. His movements were quick as lightning, sweeping in like a hawk, and he tackled the second man, Emily's captor, to the ground. The two crashed down in a flurry of limbs, sending dust spiraling upwards in the beam of light. Leslie, get Emily out! The man shouted, his voice so intense it resonated in her core. Instinct chased away hesitation. She locked eyes with Emily, fear still coursing through the little girl. Come on, honey. This way. Leslie dashed toward the back of the attic as she heard the thud of bodies colliding. Through the mayhem, she felt her heartbeat thrumming violently in her chest. They had to escape before the tide could turn back against them. Emily nodded and followed, her small feet scrambling across uneven floors. Leslie spotted the window ledge, now partially cleared of debris, a glimmer of hope shining down. Hold on tight to me, she commanded, her heart racing as she crawled through the opening, clasping Emily's hand tightly. Just then, she heard a guttural scream behind her. The sound sent a wave of chill up her spine, winding through her very bones. Suddenly, her grip on Emily slipped as the girl stumbled. No! Leslie shouted, scrambling back. Just as she turned, she saw the man who had rushed and slapped the second attacker aside, freeing the air for Leslie. "Take her. Go." His shout was desperate, but at that moment, he was caught in a deadly grapple with the second man. "Come on!" Leslie yelled to Emily as she thrust the girl through the window opening. The storm swept through, pushing Leslie closer to the chaos behind her. "Go, Emily. Please." Emily's tiny frame disappeared into the maelstrom of rain outside. She clung to the sill, staring back wide-eyed, tears mingling with the raindrops across her cheeks. Leslie felt a surge of fear and determination. The storm might be raging, but it didn't compare to the tempest brewing inside her. With one final look at the man still battling for their freedom, she heaved herself through the window, landing in a crouch on the slick grass below. The rain pelted her, but she quickly glanced around. The night was dark, illuminated only by sporadic lightning, but she spotted Emily crouched behind a nearby oak, her innocent eyes shining bright amidst the gloom. "Emily. I'm okay, Leslie." The girl's voice was steady, but it broke Leslie's heart as she realized the weight of what just happened. The man above had finally managed to shake off his opponent, but the first man, furious and wild, locked onto Leslie's gaze through the window. He raged, eyes wild with fury and intent, making it clear he wouldn't let them escape easily. "Get away from my daughter!" he barked, a fury coursing through him. The unease twisted inside Leslie as the man drew closer, sweat mixing with rain cascading off his face. Who was he really? And what did he want with Emily? As the shadows lengthened and the storm raged on, the man turned to face her, an unsettling grin on his lips. "You thought you could get away that easily?" In that moment, the unmistakable sense of danger loomed large, overshadowing the flickering hope Leslie had clung to as she fought for her child. What game was he playing? And what if this was just the beginning? Leslie's heart raced, panic coursing through her veins as she backed away from the raging figure. Each breath was a fire in her lungs. What had she done? The unforgiving rain battered down, mixing with the adrenaline surging through her. "Leslie." Emily's voice broke through the chaos, pulling her from her thoughts. The little girl was peeking from behind the oak, wide-eyed and trembling, her presence a lifeline amidst the storm. "What do we do?" "We need to run," Leslie replied, her voice shaky but determined. Their pursuer's thunderous footsteps echoed behind them, punctuating the urgency of the moment. The man in the attic had momentarily distracted Leslie's attacker, but the fury in the man's eyes hadn't dimmed. He surged toward them, a predator intent on reclaiming his prey. "Don't look back. Just move." Leslie shouted to Emily as she darted away from the oak tree, sprinting towards the dense thicket bordering the yard. With rain-soaked grass slipping beneath her feet, Leslie felt an icy grip around her heart. Each step seemed to echo louder than the last. What if they weren't fast enough? What if they were caught? Lightning split the sky, illuminating the path ahead and casting ominous shadows behind her. The silhouette of the man loomed, ever closer. She risked a glance over her shoulder. The look in his eyes was wild, fueled by rage, a mixture of insanity and something almost raw. Desperation surged within her. "Emily, we have to hide." She gasped, spotting a cluster of bushes thick enough to conceal them. They ducked behind the cover, hugging the wet ground, their breaths synchronized in panting gasps. The world seemed to hold its breath, the storm and chaos numbed down to a dull roar. Peering through the leaves, Leslie could see him now, the monster from the attic. He prowled around the backyard, scanning the area like a bloodhound. Sweat mingled with rain on his brow, fury still etched across his features as he called out. "I know you're here. Come out, and I'll make it quick." Leslie's stomach twisted. He meant it, she realized. There was no escaping whatever darkness was driving him. Emily whispered, clutching her mother's arm. "Shh, don't make a sound," Leslie hissed, fear glistening in her eyes as she felt her heart shudder. She had to protect Emily, nothing mattered more. Without warning, there was a loud crash behind them. The man lunged toward the sound, abandoning his search momentarily. The weight of their predicament settled back onto Leslie, heavy and unyielding, but there was no time for fear now. She had to think. Suddenly, a voice echoed from the distant road, a beacon of hope. "Hey! Is everything okay?" Leslie's heart skipped. It was a neighbor. Could they be saved? "Help us!" she screamed, ignoring the risk. The word escaped her before she could think twice, but her cry seemed to awaken a beast in the man. He spun back in their direction, his sinister grin now twisted into a snarl. "You think you can get away? You have no idea what you're dealing with." Something shifted in Leslie as fear of this man morphed into something deeper. She felt anger stir within her, anger for herself, for Emily, for all the times she had been pushed around or told she was powerless. "Emily, stay close," she urged, rising slightly from her crouch, ready to fight if it came to it. But the ground trembled with the fury of the storm as he charged toward them, fists clenched. Leslie stood her ground, her pulse pounding like a war drum. This was it. This was the moment she could turn this nightmare around. Lightning danced above them, illuminating the chaos as their masked pursuer advanced. What he didn't realize was that she was ready to protect what mattered most. And just as the confrontation seemed inevitable, a shadow fell behind the man, moving with purpose. The man from the attic had returned. "On your feet, now!" he shouted, his voice strong and reassuring. With a single roar, the night plunged into chaos as they clashed in the storm's grip. Leslie's heart raced with the raw intensity of the moment. Could this stranger truly help? The stakes soared higher with every moment. What deeper secrets awaited, tangled in this web of violence? And as the storm raged on, one thing was crystal clear: the game had only just begun. Leslie's heart thundered in her chest as the man from the attic and their pursuer faced off, two titans of chaos colliding against the pounding rain. "Get in position!" the man shouted, his eyes never leaving the figure looming dangerously before them. Leslie barely had time to process the command before she felt Emily tugging on her sleeve, panic etched on the little girl's face. "What do we do, Mommy?" "Stay behind me," Leslie replied, her voice steadier than she felt. The flash of lightning illuminated the tension, casting eerie shadows that danced around their makeshift shelter. The raging figure was unrelenting, a storm in his own right, muscles coiled like a lion ready to pounce. He charged forward, his snarl echoing through the chaos. "You think you can protect them? You're no match for me." As he lunged towards the man, Leslie's instincts flared. She glanced toward Emily, who watched with wide, fearful eyes, and Leslie felt a weight of responsibility crash down like the relentless rain. She couldn't let her daughter see fear. Now! The man from the attic barked, launching himself into action. He collided with their attacker, both men rolling into the mud, limbs flailing wildly. Leslie's heart raced while she seized the moment, grabbing Emily's arm. "Let us move." They dashed towards the side of the house, weaving through the curtain of rain. The air buzzed with electricity, charged with both the storm and the palpable danger behind them. They ducked around the corner, breathless and desperate for safety. But Leslie could hear the struggle raging in the backyard, a clash of fists, curses flying like bullets. She hesitated, torn between the instinct to flee and the urge to help. "Mommy!" Emily's voice quivered, grounding her back to the moment. "Okay, we need to find somewhere safe," Leslie said, scanning their surroundings. The shadows loomed closer, but just beyond the side of the house, the door to the garage stood slightly ajar. It was a chance, an opportunity for hiding if nothing else. "This way," she hissed, guiding Emily through the rain-soaked yard. With each step, Leslie felt energy shifting, fear and hope intertwined. They reached the garage and slipped inside, the pungent scent of gasoline hitting her nose. She could barely hear the commotion outside as she shut the door, the latch clicking into place with an ominous finality. Inside, the dim light cast strange angles against the walls. Boxes and old furniture loomed like ghosts in the shadows, objects of comfort turned potential barriers. "Where are we?" Emily whispered, her small voice barely audible above the storm howling outside. Leslie's heart ached for her daughter. Just hold on a minute." She could feel her pulse in her throat, the adrenaline still coursing through her body. And then came the loud crack of thunder followed by a piercing shriek, a sound that sent a chill down Leslie's spine. It came from outside, but it held a familiarity. It was the voice of their pursuer, mingled with a raw, primal fear. "What is happening?" Emily's eyes were wide as she stared towards the door. "I don't know," Leslie said, gripping her daughter's shoulders. "But we have to stay quiet." Whispers echoed through the garage as they braced against the door, breaths mingling with the storm, a small sanctuary clinging to hope amid chaos. But the rumbling between victory and defeat was about to shatter as another scream filled the air, this time followed by sickening silence. Leslie shivered, her intuition screaming that whatever fight had raged outside was far from over. "Emily," she whispered, "I need you to trust me. Whatever happens next, stick close." The silence outside felt like a thick fog, lingering and dangerous. It felt wrong, something inside the quiet warned her they weren't safe yet. Would this be the calm before another storm? Or was the real monster still lurking? The air crackled with anticipation as Leslie's fingers curled tightly around Emily's hand, preparing for whatever darkness awaited them. The silence inside the garage was suffocating. Every creak and drop of rain outside felt amplified, a constant reminder of the chaos just beyond the thin walls that separated them from an unseen terror. Leslie held Emily close, their breaths mingling, threading an invisible bond of protection. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emily's voice quivered softly, her small body shuddering against Leslie's grip. "I know, sweetie. Just focus on me, okay?" Leslie replied, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. In that moment, she wanted nothing more than to shield her daughter from the horrors of the world. But how could she protect her when danger loomed so close? Suddenly, the door rattled violently, sending a jolt of fear through Leslie. She pressed her back against it, heart racing. The thought of their pursuer breaking through filled her with dread. Whatever had happened in the backyard felt like a distant memory overshadowed by the present threat. "Let us move further in," Leslie said, trying to mask her anxiety as she led Emily deeper into the garage. They squeezed past old tools and forgotten boxes, searching for a corner where the shadows could wrap around them, hiding them from the world. Just as they found a stack of crates to shelter behind, the unmistakable sound of footsteps reached them, crunching wet gravel outside. Each step sent a wave of panic rushing through Leslie. Who was it? Was the storm outside simply nature's fury, or was it masking the approach of something far worse? "Mommy, I saw something," Emily said, her eyes wide, glistening with unshed tears. "What do you mean? What did you see?" Leslie urged softly, kneeling to meet her daughter's gaze. "The man from the attic, he was standing by the tree. He looked scary, Mommy. Like he was." Emily gulped, like he was really upset. Leslie's heart sank. What had happened out there? In the brief moments of their escape, had their ally become another danger? A loud crash interrupted her thoughts, the door shuddering again as if someone had thrown their weight against it. Leslie instinctively pulled Emily closer. "Stay quiet. No matter what." But the ominous stillness outside shattered. The garage door handle rattled violently, and an angry voice roared through the pounding rain. "Where are you? I know you're in there. You can't run forever." Leslie's mind raced, trying to connect the dots. The man from the attic had been their protector, hadn't he? But what if he hadn't meant to? Doubts twisted in her gut like a live wire. "Mommy, I want to go home," Emily whispered again, her fear spiraling Leslie's resolve. "I don't like it here." "Shoo. We need to stay strong. We need to wait for the right time." Just as she spoke, the door creaked, a momentary reprieve of tension vibrating through the air. Then, the sound changed, shifting from a rattle to a loud, forceful knock. The garage walls vibrated, echoing the threat that came with each intrusion. "Come out, come out. I can make this easier for you." The voice was laced with dark amusement, almost taunting. "Trust me, your fears are nothing compared to what I can show you." Leslie's stomach churned angrily. What did he mean? An unsettling thought crossed her mind: what if they weren't the only ones hiding? What if friends could turn to foes? Suddenly, a shadow passed the garage window, and Leslie's breath hitched. She strained to glimpse through the grimy glass. Rain blurred everything, but she could just make out movement outside, perhaps the figure making its way around to the back. "Emily," she whispered urgently, "we might have a chance. We need to get out when he's distracted. Are you ready?" "I am," Emily replied, her eyes wide with determination. Leslie took a deep breath, steeling herself for what lay ahead. They needed to act fast. As adrenaline coursed through her veins, she felt a flicker of hope ignite, but it was overshadowed by the revelation that awaited them outside. What truth lay beyond the murky darkness? What awaited them in the storm? Time was running out, and the answers were out there, just waiting to be uncovered. Leslie crouched beside the crates, heart pounding, waiting for a sign of distraction. She could hear the rain slashing against the roof, almost drowning out the chaos echoing from outside. The voice was still taunting them, a sickening melody carried by the wind. "Why don't you just come out and face me? It'll be fun." That laughter poured through the cracks like boiling water. Leslie clenched her fists. Fun? Whose idea of fun was preying on the vulnerable? "Emily, stay low," she whispered, looking around desperately for an escape route, but the garage loomed like a tomb. The only exit was that door, rattling with insistence. A gut-wrenching thought struck her. What if Emily's sighting had truly escalated their nightmare? "Mom." Emily's small voice trembled. "What if he's not here for us? What if he's after him?" "Who?" Leslie asked, though the answer was like a knife to her heart. "The man from the attic." Was he the danger? Had he lost his mind? "Mommy, I don't want to die," Emily cried softly, tears spilling over her cheeks. Leslie wrapped her arms around her daughter tighter, fighting against the rising tide of despair. "We're not going to die, I promise you," she said, forcing the words through a lump in her throat. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated outside, sending a beam of cold fear through them. Then silence. Time hung suspended. The rain drumming angrily felt deafening in the pause, and a chill crept down Leslie's spine. Emily peeked out from behind her legs, eyes wide with fright. "Mommy, I see him. The man." Leslie's breath caught. She hesitated, then turned to squint through the glass. An indistinct shadow loomed beyond the rain curtain. It was hard to tell through the dark, but the figure moved with certainty. Is he coming this way?" "Not yet," Emily whispered, nodding, her voice a thread of hope. Leslie inhaled sharply. "We need to move now before he figures out where we are." As they eased toward the back of the garage, an unexpected jolt hit the door again harder, like a battering ram. The rattling was a frantic remix of their fears. "Come on," Leslie urged, gripping Emily's hand tightly. They reached the back. It was dark, almost claustrophobic. The only glimpse of the outside world was a sliver of light pouring in through the smallest cracks. Just as they turned to leave, a figure stepped back from the window, an outline too clear against the rain, but somehow distorted in the shadows. "Thought you could escape?" The voice rang out, deeper, more sinister. Leslie's instincts screamed at her to hide, but the way forward was blocked. The only choice was to confront this terror. "Stay behind me," she hissed, positioning herself as a shield between Emily and whatever threat lurked just beyond. A flicker of movement sent chills skittering down her spine. The figure was closer than moments ago. She could hear the heaviness of breaths mixed with the rain. "Really, I am trying to help you." The figure's tone slid from playful to unnervingly soft, and the air thickened with unease. "You underestimate the power of fear, don't you? I can take it all away." Leslie shook her head, refusing to let the veil of uncertainty shroud her judgment. "You're lying." That cracked laughter returned, sending deep tremors through her resolve. Yet she sensed something off. He was toying with them, but there was an ulterior motive lurking beneath the surface. "What do you know?" Leslie's desperation transformed into defiance, her voice rising over the roar of the rain. "More than you can imagine," the figure replied, stepping farther into the light. Leslie's breath hitched. It was him. The man from the attic, his eyes wild, his expression unreadable. And just like that, she felt a new game begin, one that threatened not just them but the very essence of who they were. Then the ground shook, and the garage trembled under a sudden boom, sending dust flying through the air. What if everything she knew was about to explode into chaos? "Mommy!" Emily screamed, pulling at her sleeve, pulling her back from the precipice of uncertainty. Leslie's heart raced with the urge to run, but they were pinned in a horror story of their own making. What lay beyond the storm? Could they trust the man who had once been a protector? Time was slipping, and danger was spiraling in close. Would they make it out alive? Leslie squinted into the darkness, poised between choices, and for the first time in a long time, the weight of her decisions felt unbearably heavy. "Hold on tight, Emily. Whatever happens next, we face it together." Could love shield them when the world turned dark? And in that moment, it felt like everything was about to change. The calm after the storm was deafening. Leslie held Emily tight, the rain-washed world outside now eerily quiet. It was as if the universe was holding its breath, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. The man from the attic stood just beyond the threshold, tension vibrating off his muscular frame. "Stay behind me, Emily," Leslie muttered, the instinct to protect surging within her. But the man shifted, his eyes darting between them and the doorway, a storm brewing in his own mind. "Listen," he urged, voice low but edged with urgency. "I'm not here to hurt you. I promise. We need to go. He knows where we are." There was something raw in his tone, a pleading that squeezed at Leslie's heart. "Who is he?" Leslie asked, her pulse racing. If they were being hunted, she had to figure out who the danger was. "What is going on?" The man ran a hand through his drenched hair, water cascading down his forehead. "It's complicated. They want Tyler because he found something they should be kept hidden. You have to trust me. He is safer with you than anywhere else right now." Emily's small fingers tightened on Leslie's arm. Terror embroidered into her fragile frame made Leslie's resolve tighten. "You expect us to just trust you? After everything that just happened?" "Yes, I know it's hard," the man said, desperation seeping into his words. "But it's your best chance of survival. The moment they realize you're alive, they'll come here with everything they've got. We have to move. Now." Leslie's heart raced at the thought of danger unfurling its claws again. With a shaky breath, she glanced at Emily, whose innocence was a fragile, glowing ember among the storm-torn embers of chaos. "Okay," Leslie said, her voice steadying. "Let us get out of here. We need a plan." In that moment, they heard a low growl from the shadows outside, an ominous reminder that they were still hunted. The man's eyes flickered toward the sound, his body tightening in readiness. With urgency, they slipped past him, Leslie tightly gripping Emily's hand. Together, they navigated through the dim garage, dodging debris and shadows, until they reached the back door. The rain had slowed, but the world outside was still treacherous. "Follow my lead," the man instructed, glancing back at them as they emerged into the night. "Stay low and stay quiet." The trio slipped into the twilight, using the remnants of the storm and darkness as cover. Lightning flickered, illuminating the path ahead like a blinking warning sign. Leslie could feel her heart in her throat as they approached a van parked under a sprawling oak, stubby branches swaying in the gentle wind. "Is that yours?" Leslie whispered, barely able to contain her hope against the backdrop of fear. Yes. He nodded, already peeling open the side door. Get in. They scrambled inside, Leslie sliding into the back with Emily safely nestled against her. The man jumped into the driver's seat, firing up the engine as thunder rumbled in the distance. Just as he shifted the gear into drive, the echo of footsteps splintered through the silence. Go. Go. Leslie urged, panic surging as the faint glow of flashlights dotted the road behind them. The man pressed on the gas and they shot forward, leaving the shadows of danger behind. Leslie's heart raced, a mixture of fear and adrenaline coursing through her veins. Finally, as they peeled away, the last flicker of hope ignited within her. They were alive. In those moments of surreal silence, as the rain turned into mere droplets and the chaos receded into the background, Leslie turned to the man. What do we do next? Where do we go? He took a deep breath, glancing at them through the rearview. We need to find Tyler first, that's our priority. He's the key to understanding what's been happening. And, just like that, the tide shifted. Leslie not only found herself embroiled in a wild struggle to protect Emily but also unwillingly caught up in a mystery that stretched way beyond just them. They were all in this together, this makeshift family formed from chaos and bound by a singular purpose, survival. Tyler needs us. Leslie felt the steady thrum of purpose behind her words. Yes, the man nodded, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. And if we do this right, we can end whatever nightmare has been unleashed. With Emily nestled beside her, her heart aflame with love and determination, Leslie took a moment to breathe in all the mixed emotions flooding through her. They would fight to save not just Tyler but all they held dear. Gritting her teeth, she knew it was far from over. But it was time to face the storm together. Let us finish this, she whispered into the golden light ahead, vowing to weather whatever came next, united against the darkness. Now, listen up. You need to subscribe immediately so you don't miss our next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support for this channel. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. Don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling conclusion with at least 5 friends who need to see it. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic finale. Your voice matters. Let's connect and keep this amazing community alive.